Does the phrase finding your purpose feel big, unattainable, and scary? It does for a lot of people. So I'm going to walk you through 3 reasons why purpose feels like an impossible fantasy, and then what's the truth and what do we do about it? Helping you win in your work life so that you're winning in other areas of your life. I'm Ken. This is the Ken Coleman Show. I'm part coach, counselor, and cheerleader. So when you hear someone talk about purpose, or you hear the phrase find your purpose or find your calling, what does that do to you emotionally? What does it conjure up? Does it feel like a unicorn dancing through the clouds? An impossible goal? Sure, Ken. Yeah, send me the unicorn in the mail, and after that, I'm going to start working on being the number 1 draft pick in the NFL. It's just fantastical. It's not real. I think this is what a lot of people think of when they when they hear the phrase or when they interact with the phrase calling, purpose, dream job is another one that I think for so many people just feels like an impossibility that, gosh, would be nice. But I'm not going to think about that. It's the idea of when you drive past the lottery board. Anybody out there ever drive past it? You'll see $440 million, and you sit there and you go, the chances of this happening are 0. There's no chance I'm going to win it, but gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have all that money? Is that the way we look at living your calling, finding purpose, being who you were created to be? Is that how we interact with that phrase? I think it is. I think it feels like the lottery. Boy, that would be awesome. You drive by that lottery board and you go, man, if I won, what would I do with that money? Boy, that'd be great. And you quickly change your mind, as you should with the lottery, and say, that's ridiculous. It's the chances of that happening are just so ridiculously low that I'm not going to focus on that. I need to change my mind and get off of that. It's fantasy land. Well, but that's not the case with calling and purpose. But there are 3 reasons why I believe collectively most people think that purpose, dream job, finding calling, that it's a fantastical reach that only a few lucky people get. There's 3 reasons. First reason is school squashed your wonder. The American school system squashed your wonder. You come into this world hardwired to ask questions. Toddlers don't have to be taught to ask why, Daddy, why, Mommy, how, Daddy, how, Mommy. They just ask. They're digging. I am talking to people, looking at people right here through this lens that are creatures of wonder. You were hardwired with curiosity. But when you walk through a system, kindergarten through 12, then go into higher education, everything is about memorization. I am learning facts, concepts, but then I am tested to see how much I can remember. Did I get it right? How much did you get wrong? As opposed to the very scientific method that they teach us. Why aren't we actually living that way? A hypothesis that I'm now going to go test. And I'm going to step into failure for the purposes of learning. And yet we are conditioned in our education system not to fail, to become adverse to failure, and then ultimately terrified of failure. So school squashes our wonder. It makes us compliant. It makes us rule followers, not pathfinders, not brave. Second reason that purpose feels like an impossible fantasy, the dream job feels it's a silly conversation, is because we choose safety, the safety of the known path. It's not actually as known as we think it is, but we believe that it's known because it's attached to a major college major. It's got benefits, health benefits, 401k. Provides enough money to buy the things we need, to buy the things we want. And so what happens is a safe job becomes a path that we feel, we know, and thus control. We go after degrees and jobs that are all attached to the word good. Good degree from a good college. Good job, good pay. Anybody ever heard the phrase, good is the enemy of great? Do you believe it? I do. Because I think all of those goods, good degree, good job, good pay, good benefits, I think all of those goods rob us from a great life. See, good is the enemy of great because good is not full potential. Good is comfortable. There's a little bit of discomfort involved with good, not a lot. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever met someone, gotten to know someone, interviewed someone, talked to someone who has achieved great things, they will tell you more about the challenges, the fears, the doubts, the failures, than they will tell you about the wins, the victories, the glory. It's just a fact. So we go after, as creatures who are designed with an amygdala to avoid fear. And we aren't taught, we aren't trained, going back to point number one, in our school system, we aren't trained to deal with failure enough to where the fear of failure lessens and lessens and lessens to where we have a good brain that can logically decide what is a good decision with low risk. But any risk in a brain that is so focused on fear of failure, it's terrifying. So if all I'm worried about is failure, and it's a huge fear, then any risk, even the smallest of risk, will look much larger than it actually is. The third reason why purpose feels like an impossible fantasy is we're haunted by the expectations of others. Oh, my mama wanted me to be this. My dad has always expected me to step into the family business and eventually take over for him one day. My high school blank teacher always told me I was so good in this and I should pursue this. My friends are doing this and they say it's a really great career. And I think I'm going to go that direction. Listen, this happens to us at all different stages of life. Those voices from those that we care about, those of influence, friends and family, become our voices. It never was our voice, but because of their influence in our life, we take someone else's voice about our future and we adopt it, and it becomes our voice because it's been there so long we don't know any other voice. And yet the voice of the heart is trying so hard to pierce your brain, and the voice that someone else planted inside of you, and you are haunted by it because every once in a while you'll hear the voice of the heart. Hey, remember me? We're supposed to go do this. And you ignore it because you're haunted by disappointing others, by not being who others want you to be, and you might live a life of regret because you weren't who you wanted to be. So coming up, how do we actually begin to see that purpose and calling is real and attainable? I'll explain next.
Do you know what you were born to do? In order to get hired at a job you love, you need to get clear on your talent, passion, and mission. That's why our team created the Career Clarity Guide. In just a few minutes, this free tool will walk you through a process to discover what you do best, that's your talent, the work you love to do, that's your passion, and the results that matter to you, your mission. Then you'll feel more confident throughout the job search process. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/clarity.
Finding your calling, living your calling is not an unattainable, fantastical luxury. It's not for this group of people that you may look at and say, well, they figured it out, they found it, but, they had this going for them and this and this and this, and because of my life and my situation and my environment and blah, 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 blah. And so we make excuses. It feels so far away and too painful, too intimidating, too overwhelming to get after it, to discover what you were created to do. What should I do with my life? The uncertainty of it is overwhelming. And so what happens is we have to make an excuse as to why we didn't go after it that we can logically accept, and we create a lie that we can then accept. And the result of that lie is we just push it off as this thing that just these fortunate people did it, but that's not who I am, and this is just how it is. And so what happens is we lie to ourselves so that we can accept our own complacence. Because if I said to you, are you complacent? No, I'm not complacent. You come with all these reasons as to why you've chosen to stay stuck. So I want to help us today because I think this matters. It was a best-selling book. The name of the book escapes me, but it was written by a hospice nurse in Australia. And of the top 10 regrets of the people that were dying, she's a hospice nurse, so she's spending the last days and hours with people who are facing eternity. You want to talk about getting reflective? That'll do it. When a doctor tells you, you have X amount of days to live. One of the top 5 regrets that the dying gave this nurse was, I did not live the life that was true to who I am, what I wanted to do. In other words, they are saying, I am regretful that I did not do what I believed I should do. I am regretful because I was not who I believe I am supposed to be. And this is what I'm talking about today. This is bone-crushing stuff. I don't want to bring us down, but if I can grab somebody today by the shoulder and speak to your value, speak to your heart and what it is crying out for you to do, then great. It's time to pull yourself out of the matrix. That you just have to accept what someone has said about you, to accept what someone has done to you, to accept your mistakes of the past and feel as though you are on the shelf of life and not worthy to be used. And used here in this metaphor is a good thing. To pour yourself out to make a difference in the life of others. Well, how do we do it? Number one, you need awareness. You've got to get radically aware. What do you do well? You were born in this life with talent. These are tools that can be sharpened, can be added to power tools that will allow you to do good work. What are you good at? Talent. What do you love to do? What lights your heart up when you think about it? You can't wait to do it and you engage in it. Time seems to stand still. This is what I call passion. You will sacrifice in order to be able to do this type of work. And then third, what results matter to you? All work creates results. What results do you want to produce in this world? To say, I am doing this for you. I'm helping people get out of debt and win in their finances. I'm helping people overcome substance abuse. I'm helping people spiritually. I'm helping people's marriages. I'm helping people raise their kids well. I'm helping people overcome disease. I'm helping people get healthy physically. What is it? What is that result you want to produce? That's awareness. Who are you? What are you good at? What do you love to do? What results matter deeply to you? Now, that's design. That's how you're wired. Talent, passion, mission are those 3 wires that come together to make you uniquely you. But then there's your experience. Design, I just explained, but what about your experience? What's happened to you in life? What have been the wins, the losses? What shaped you? What breaks your heart? What fires your heart up? See, that's a part of your experience, the environment you grew up in, what's happened to you in life. You look at design and you look at experience and you look at environment, and now you begin to see, this is who I am. This Is Me is the song, the anthem of the great movie, The Greatest Showman. The bearded lady. This is me. I am brave. I am bruised. I am who I'm meant to be. This is you. And you got to know who you are. And once you find out who you are, this is the awareness. Now that leads to the second step you've got to take, which is acceptance. It's not enough to just be aware of how you are uniquely built and your unique journey. You now have to accept it and go, this is me, and I'm okay with it. And I know there's a story for me to tell. This is what I'm good at. This is what I suck at. This is what I love to do. This is what I hate to do. This is what I care deeply about. I don't care about this. This is the environment I grew up in, and this is how it shaped me. This is what happened to me many years ago, and this is what I've had to overcome. All of that together, that's you. And I've got to be aware of it, yes, but I must accept it. I can't just see it. I got to believe that there's a story to tell based on who I am. There's somebody out there who has a similar experience as me. I may have overcome something that they're about ready to go through or they're in the middle of, and I can step in. See, your uniqueness allows you to find your greatness. So I've got to believe it, that there's a story to tell. I didn't ask this to happen to me. I didn't design me, but this is me. And now I can walk fully in confidence because I'm so clear. I see me and I believe that there's something I'm supposed to do with me. So accept that. And then finally, you got to act. Awareness, acceptance, action. So get going. Get after it. Get after it. You know who you are. You know why you are that way. You know what you want to do, where you want to do it. Go do it. Now, along this path of acceptance, you begin to say, okay, this is who I am, and so this is why I care deeply about these certain issues. This is why I'm good at doing this type of work. This is why I love this type of work. And so I get that and I go, okay, so now I got to do something with it, and I see the mountain that I'm supposed to climb. I'm going to go climb it. And I'm not going to worry about failure. I'm going to fail forward every time. I'm going to learn something. My friend John Maxwell wrote a book, Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn. Instead of lose, he said learn. What a beautiful little switch he did there. If we begin to see our failures as opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow, opportunities to take an experience and get something good out of it and move through it, it's going to change the game. So you got to get going. In my own journey, I got to a point where I was like, I'm supposed to go into broadcasting. I'm supposed to be on a mic. I'm supposed to be speaking outwardly. And I know I'm supposed to do it in a way that equips people, that encourages people. How in the world do I get there? I didn't know. But I was aware. I accepted that was the calling on my life. But then I had to act. But I didn't have a degree. I was in my early 30s. I had to act. What did I do? I started meeting with people in the broadcasting industry, producers, talent, started learning everything I could learn. Started studying people that I admired, try to pick up something from them. I didn't even know how I was going to use the skill I was attaining, but I just knew I had to learn and I had to do. I signed up for a broadcasting class with a bunch of 20-year-olds. I was the old man in the group. I learned everything, audio editing, working on a mic, video editing, how to write a news story, how to do play-by-play in sports. What did I do? I just acted. And I kept acting and kept pursuing doors. Some didn't open, some did. And eventually I ended up here. You got to act once you're aware and you accept.
Are you wondering if you should leave your current job or stay put? You're not alone. That's why we created the Should I Quit My Job quiz. In just 5 minutes or less, this quiz will help you determine if you're at the right company and if you're in the right role. If you need to make a move, you'll even get practical next steps to keep you moving forward. Listen, stuck is a choice, and life is too short not to do what you were created to do. To take the quiz, go to kencoleman.com/quiz.
Helping you get unstuck, helping you get the clarity you need to confidently walk forward, to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do. If you're enjoying this show and you're watching on YouTube, would you like the video? Would you subscribe to our channel? And then would you share a video to someone that you believe would be encouraged by this content? Also, if you're listening via the podcast app that you love so much, if you would follow us and give us a 5-star review and share an episode again, that would be appreciated. That helps us grow, and we are growing, thankfully, because of you. We want to help as many people as possible see who they uniquely are, be who they're supposed to be, and do it at a level of excellence so they live a life that they can reminisce on, not regret. Let's get to it as I inform you. I'm a man of the people, by the people, for the people, making sure that you know what's going on. Very interesting data here. Here's the headline. In the age of remote work, employers are quiet quitting on employees. Oh, stop with these headlines. I got to read the headline, but the employers are now quiet quitting on people. Okay, what does this mean? It simply means that we've got more and more employers who are now opting to hire less and less full-time employees. Why? Well, obviously, the American workplace has undergone a lot of changes over the last 3 years. It's continuing to change. I think some of the biggest changes are still to come. In a survey conducted by the Atlanta Fed, the Federal Reserve Atlanta, last year, businesses said remote work had led them to stock up on part-time employees, temps, independent contractors, and outsourced positions, both at home and abroad. If workers are going to be remote, the thinking seems to go, why not get the cheapest workers available? I said this was going to happen. It had been happening. It's happening more and more. They're just going to go, you know what? If everybody wants to be remote, I can go get someone who works around the world while we're all sleeping. They're getting the job done, and I'm paying them a fraction of what I pay an American worker. This is already happening. We have people bragging about it. The president of the Society of Human Resource Management, they are the association in human resources in America. I forget what his last name is. Maybe Johnny Smith or Johnny Jones. It doesn't matter. This guy's bragging in the Wall Street Journal about a woman who said, I want to go full-time remote. I don't want to work in the office. And he thought to himself after he left the meeting, you know what? If she wants to work remote, she can work for somebody else. I'm going to ship her job overseas. And he did, and he bragged about it. No, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying this is happening, and it's common sense. Why wouldn't business leaders do it? You may not agree with the fact that they can get the same quality of work done, but I think that's debatable. I mean, you're assuming that there aren't bright people around the world. If you can work remote, why can't they? Anytime I say this, by the way, people come after me on social media. Well, you could try that all you want to. You're not going to get the same quality work. That's a generalization. That might be a little bit of prejudice for some of you woke snowflakes out there. Some of the people saying this are the most snowflakey, wokey people out there. And you're discriminating against someone who works around the world? How dare you? See what I did there? Fewer full-time jobs means fewer costly benefits. So on paper, here's what a lot of executives are thinking. Healthcare benefits, pensions, on-the-job training, that steady paycheck. We could save a dime or two. So it seems like a good money decision for leaders. Is it? Well, the data right now, 5 straight months in a row from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, says that productivity in America continues to drop and it's at an all-time low. So executives who think, you know what? We're going to just go less full-time employee positions, and we're going to do a contractor here, part-time there. We're going to save a buck or two by farming out this work to people that aren't full-time and aren't in the office full-time, we're going to save a buck or two. That's good business. I don't think it is. And I think the productivity numbers are the evidence as to why I don't think this is the right strategy. Will you save some money initially? Yes. But I think what happens is when you don't have a workforce, a real team, a cohesive unit working on a shared mission, productivity drops. Productivity drops because collaboration drops. And the productivity numbers are going to lead to lower profitability. When productivity drops, profitability is right behind it. That's just a fact. So I think it's going to take some really gutsy, gritty, positive, vision-casting leaders to step into this current trend of everybody wanting to work remote or work hybrid and not be in the office. I think it's going to take leaders to say, you know what? Here's the vision of this organization. Here's where we're going. Here's why we're going there. And here's how we're going to treat you. And we're not going to try to draw you into the office with respite rooms where you can have a quiet moment when you're stressed out. That's just all Band-Aid, gobbledygook, symptom-based leading. So you know what? You're not going to burn out here because our leaders aren't going to be burned out. And thus, they're going to make sure that you aren't burned out. And we're going to create a culture where we are a team and we care for each other and everybody is in tune with their leader and the leader's in tune with them. And we know when something's going crazy in your personal life. And so we're going to step in and we're going to support you. And you're not going to let your personal life, when things are struggling there, impact you in your work life because we're going to care for you. We're going to support you. We're going to come alongside of you. And then we're going to give you the tools and the resources and the training you need in your work life so that you aren't stressed. We're going to communicate effectively. We're going to treat you not like a unit of production, but we're going to treat you like a person. So what's driving this change? Is it workers or leaders? What's driving this? This idea of we're going to go for more gig workers because people want to work from home. Who's driving it? McKinsey estimates that independent workers, a category that includes gig, contract, freelance, and temporary workers, now make up 36% of the workforce. That's up from 27% just 7 years ago. Gusto, a payroll platform for small businesses, says the average company retains, these are small businesses, retains one contractor for every 5 employees. That's jumped 63% since 2019. So are employees being forced into independent work because they can't find full-time jobs, or are they opting for gig work because they prefer it? It's the latter. The data shows it's the latter. People like the flexibility. They like the contracting, the freelance or temporary jobs. Whether or not it gives them freedom or not, it feels like freedom. And don't mistake this. It's not a political statement, but if you want to know what makes the world go round and where all human tension starts, it starts with when a human doesn't feel free. You understand human behavior at its forget philosophy, forget psychology, forget psychiatry, forget politics, forget religion, all this stuff. You want to know what's going on? Our Creator created us to have a free will, and freedom is at the core of all human tension in any place. So, one detail that concerns me in McKinsey's survey, in 2016, 14% of respondents said they took contract, freelance, or temporary work mainly out of necessity to support basic family needs. In 2022, that jumped to 26%. Why? The answer lies in the credit card data. Credit card debt at an all-time high. People are taking gig work, extra work, because they're not managing their money well. It's that simple. Listen, when you manage your money well, guess what happens? You get margin. When you get margin with your money, guess what happens? You feel more free. When you feel more free, guess what happens? You feel more peace. You can take control of your future if you're one of those people. Get control of your money, find more margin, find more peace. Watch everything else in your life get better. This is the Ken Coleman Show.
Did you know that recruiters take an average of 6 seconds to scan a resume? And that's if they ever see it in the first place. In fact, 75% of resumes are rejected before reaching a hiring manager. Listen, folks, if you want to get hired, you've got to make your resume worth noticing. That's why we created How to Write the Perfect Resume. This free guide will walk you through the 5 steps to stand out in the hiring process to get you your dream job. If you want to get started, go to kencoleman.com/resume.
Welcome back. All right, so where are we with this great resignation that happened, where we saw 4+ million workers a month change jobs for about a 2.5-year period? It's extraordinary. Well, where are we? Bankrate said Monday in a new survey that they did that the share of American workers that indicated they were going to seek a new role in the next 12 months was likely at 56%. 56% said, I'm probably going to look for a new job in the next 12 months. Pretty fascinating. Let's look at the prior year when they asked the question. It was at 49%. I'm sorry, 51%. So it's a 5% bump. Now, this is interesting because the data, the economic data out there saying that we saw a slowdown of all the job switching. And yet, the amount of people at least reporting, again, they've not decided to move on, but they're saying, yeah, people ask me in a poll or survey, am I going to look for a new job in the next 12 months? And you have 56% people saying, yes, I am. Over 4 in 10 workers said it was likely that they would request a pay increase or more flexibility in the next 12 months. I think a lot of people are hedging their bets. They're going, you know what? I'm going to ask for a pay raise. I'm going to ask for more flexibility. I know they're all doing this. We're not working from home anymore, but maybe times have changed. And we're just going to keep asking. We're going to keep nudging the leader, the boss. And I think a lot of them are going, if I don't get the answer I want, I'm going to go look for it somewhere else. And I think this is a game of musical chairs. And the way musical chairs always worked was everybody got up to the music and we all went around the chairs and we waited for the music to stop and someone was always left out. That's the way musical chairs works. And I think this kind of attitude could get a lot of people in trouble as we look over the next 2 years. If these poll numbers keep coming out where people go, you know what, I'm looking. Now, right now, we have a job economy where there are a lot of jobs available. Okay, but we also have this shift now. The numbers are shifting where more and more leaders and companies are saying you've got to come into the office some. The hybrid model is going to be the predominant model of work for the near future. Yes, we'll let you work remote, but yes, you need to be in the office some. That is going to be the predominant model. Will the 4-day work week take hold in America? Who knows? If I had to bet right now, I would say yes. So that's just a little fun. We could pull back on this one day if I end up being right. I'm going to say I think it's going to happen, and that gives a lot of people some heartburn or a rash, whatever. But I'm just telling you, it's being tested in Europe. It's being tested in the United States. I think it's coming, but I don't know when. But I think it's coming. Now, all that to say. The survey also found that 21% of workers obtained new employment and 11% resigned from jobs in the last 12 months. So of the people who said, 56% of people said, I'm going to look for a job this year, a new job, 21% said they had just gotten a job in the last 12 months. Now, this tells me that, and again, they don't lay it out in this article, but this is a lot of Gen Z and your younger millennials. The way that those generations are wired, they don't think about work in the context of the boomers whose parents were the greatest generation and they worked one job for 45 years, fixing the same freaking widget for 45 years. That doesn't exist anymore, okay? And then we saw the boomers, my parents, they kind of stayed in careers a much, much longer time. But then we saw Gen X start to look at that a little differently. And as each generation going down, the millennials and Gen X, they start looking at work as a gig, not a career. In fact, I think I've told my team, stop calling me a career coach. Stop using the word career. I've told them. Why? Because the younger people don't think of work in a long span. And we use the word career culturally as in I'm a plumber or I am a technician or I'm a project manager. That's not career. Career speaks to a body of work. It's a historical, like over my time. But that's not the way most people see it. We use it as I'm picking this career and I'm picking it. No, let me tell you something. Gen Z, my kids, my teenagers, they're not thinking about how long they're going to work at some place. They're in the moment, baby. And that's the new world of work, and we better wake up to it, leaders, because that's who you're dealing with.
According to Glassdoor, the average job offer attracts over 250 applicants. If you've made it to the interview, you've already made a great impression. So now is the time to showcase how you are the best choice for the role. That's why we created How to Win the Interview. This free guide will walk you through the 5 strategies to help you stand out amongst the competition. With just some intentionality, you can prepare yourself to win the interview. Go to kencoleman.com/interview.
You were created to fill a unique role in your work. That means that you are needed. You're very valuable. But that also means that you need to step into that role. You must do it. There's a duty here because somebody out there needs you to be you. This is the premise of my show. This is the foundation of the Get Clear assessment. I wanted to create a tool that would allow people to get the answers to those questions of what do I do best? What do I love to do? What work do I enjoy? And then what results motivate me? And how does that steer me? What's my direction? If I can get awareness as to options and then pick a direction, man, I'm ahead of the game, and you are. You can discover your calling, and you can actually do it in your work, get paid well, and be treated well. The Get Clear assessment helps you. We ask the questions. You just got to be honest with yourself, and you get a purpose statement that's filled with your top talents, the top types of work you love to do, that's passion, and then this motivational driver. What really drives me to get out of bed in the morning? You know that information. It's a game changer. Clarity leads to confidence, and confidence leads to courage. The assessment is called the Get Clear Assessment. You can get it at kencoleman.com/assessment, kencoleman.com/assessment. Let's go to Casey now, who joins us for a coaching session in Atlanta. Casey, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet. What's up?
Hey, I'm 23. I just graduated college 1 year ago, and I took a job sort of on impulse right after college, and not really thinking, long term about how it doesn't align with what I want to do with my career. So I know at least I just now crossed over 1 year at that job, and I just know that it's not a company I want to be with. It is a soul-sucking job. I think you said it a couple weeks ago that on Sunday night, I feel my soul leave my body.
Oh, man,
and,
I'm sorry. I've been there, man. I've been there.
Yeah, so I got a degree in entrepreneurship and a degrrie in financial planning, and then I also have my private pilot's license.
Okay. Oh, that tells me something. That tells me something, Casey. What is it that you want to do, Casey? Just tell me. No excuses, no explanation. What is it that you want to do if I could just make it happen today?
Well, I'm not sure. I want to figure out which one really aligns with my purpose. I've taken the Get Clear assessment, and, I'm not sure which one really aligns with this, so I was hoping you could help me dissect this.
I'm going to ask you the same question because you said which one. That implies there's a couple you're thinking about, a couple directions that you feel are pretty good, but you just want to make the right decision, right?
Yeah, I don't want to both financial planning and aviation are both a big commitment as far as, and financial planning,
Sure.
you have a large commitment to your clients. In
Yeah.
aviation, it's a large commitment and financial commitment to the training.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a few years down the road and then end up stuck in that after, making all of that.
Well, there's where I'm going to challenge. There's where I'm going to challenge you. If you got a few years down the road in either one of these things, you paid cash, you've sacrificed, you hustled, you were diligent because it takes time to save up the money to pay for this stuff. It's expensive to get trained in aviation, very expensive. But you got in it. You didn't have any debt, so there's no regret, and you're doing it. And all of a sudden you go, you know what? I like flying, but don't want to do it anymore. I want to go into financial planning. You haven't wasted any time or money, in my opinion, because you can pivot and you have no regrets. I don't think that scenario is going to happen. I really don't, because in one sense you could do both and. But I think this decision is crippling you, and it shouldn't cripple you, because here's the deal. The aviation training is going to cost way more than the financial training. You do know this. You know this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and the financial part of it, I have that part handled. I can cover that.
Here's the deal. I already know what it is you really want to do, and you're just so.
It's the thing I can't ignore.
So why don't you just tell us? I just don't want to be the guy to say it. I got an audience member out here who's already predicted it. He's sitting out there watching the show today, and he knows what you want to do. So why don't you just go ahead and tell him so that he feels really good about himself? What is that thing, the one that's higher up the list than the other? Come on, go ahead and say it.
Well, it's flying. I mean, since I was 17, that's when I first did my first discovery flight. And, it's like that's the thing I can't ignore, and I keep coming back to it. My
guy in the lobby is pointing at himself going, I called it. Because what you couldn't see, Casey, is as soon as he started hearing you talk, he looked at me through the glass and he did those big bird wings and he went, it's flying. Now, this is a guy, I've never met him before in my life. I don't know his name. He's just sitting out there watching the show. He's not a trained professional. But the reason he figured it out is he could tell in your voice. He's a pilot. Oh, he could hear it. He knows he's a pilot. I didn't even know this. He's talking to me. We're just talking to each other through the glass right now, Casey, like you're not even on the show. This is fantastic. But let me tell you why I'm stopping and I'm not trying to embarrass our friend. He's right. But he heard it. He could hear it. He heard it on you. It was obvious. And so you got to honor that, my friend.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And, to your point that you made recently on the last segment about having the freedom and flexibility, those are two things that I value quite a bit.
Right.
And, I wonder, between the two of those, which one I would have. But I really liked what you said about, let's say I go and fly and 5 years down the road decide I don't want to do that. Financial planning, I think, would still be there.
Of course it's there, and it's a fraction of the time and cost to get trained. The big boy is the flying, but why couldn't you do both? I mean, what if you get up in the skies and you got a good gig, but you got a little downtime or whatever, or you just had this itch, and you realize, you know what, I just want to help serve some people that are friends of friends or friends of my family or my family members, and I do this more of a ministry or a heart thing. Man, I love being up in the clouds.
Well, see, that's the part I've loved in my current office job and my cubicle job. I work with a bunch of engineers, and they're great at what they do in engineering, but financially, they're not great.
Right, so here's the deal.
They're horrible.
So, Casey, you called today at the start of this call, and you're thinking, Ken's going to help me pick an either or, and I think it's a both and.
Okay.
You do this too?
So
this guy talking to me in the lobby is also a financial planner.
I wish I had his number.
I know. This is fantastic. Now, here's the deal. So do you know what it's going to cost to get qualified to fly?
Yeah, so it's about it's going to be about a $60,000, about between $60,000 and $70,000, because I've already got my private out of the way, and there's several licenses you have to get.
And what's
to progress.
What's the be all end all in the air? Where do you want to end up?
Flying for either a corporate company or like one of your major legacy airlines like FedEx or Delta, something like that.
Let me tell you
where
something.
You have those.
I'm reading articles almost on a weekly basis about the absolute panic and fear in the airline industry because they don't have new talent coming in. And if I were you, my friend, I would push and wave your hand, raise your hand. You might be surprised what they may be willing to do. I'm not privy to are they willing to help out in any way with cost, but I would be looking into that if I were you right now, because there's rumblings of stuff where they're going to start lessening the amount of training going on, and that freaks people out. I don't want to get on a plane with somebody that hasn't done all the hours. So, but I think they're going to start making it more enticing for people to get into the industry, and they may already be doing it, is my point. I'm not up to date on that. I'm not in the industry, but if I were you, if I was Casey right now, I'd be kicking the tires of all the major airlines going, hey, this is where I'm at now. This is where I want to be. Here's what I got to do. Do you got a program? Will you pay? Will you reimburse? I'd just be looking.
Yeah, it takes about, once you get your commercial license, you go and flight instruct. It takes about around 3 years to get there. But yeah, that's kind of the commitment level.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if you're willing to wait as long as it takes, you'll get there. See, everybody says, Ken, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And then I like to say, are you willing to wait as long as it takes? And that starts to get them to go, well, I mean, how long is, and look, it's 3 years. But what's on the other side of 3 years?
It's not that long. Yeah.
It's not that long. It's not that long. And so, Casey, I hope you got confirmation. You do not need my permission, but I hope you got your confirmation that you were supposed to fly in the friendly skies. Maybe I'll be on a plane with you one day. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.
Thanks for listening to the Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.